Hello my crafty friends, it's Beverleigh here over at Crafting Chaos, and I'm here to show you how to make this thanks card that I'm thinking of doing for Christmas. I will get back to the Father Christmas as well, but I did have quite a lot of interest in how to make the file that said thanks. Now, first of all, what I did is went onto the font and I looked for a font that I would like to use for my thanks, and I decided I wanted something big, so I typed in big first of all, and then I had a scroll through to see what I liked, and I think I went for a font called Big Top in the end. I'm just going to try that because I'm nearly sure that's what it was called. Big Top, yeah, this one with the swirly letters. And if you look, it says it's 100% free, so it doesn't even say for personal use. So I assume that you would be able to sell your makes if you use that for a card and you wanted to sell it. You should be okay because it says it's free, 100% from the author. Now, all I did then was click download and saved it to my computer. Now, once I'd downloaded it, in my downloads folder, that's where it went to. Just excuse that. Just in the process of getting a new phone, so I was looking up how much I'd get for mine. So once it's in your downloads, and if I have a quick look, there it is, Big Top. All I did on my Mac was just double clicked it, gives me the option to install the font, and that lets me install it. I think it might be slightly different in Microsoft Windows if you wanted to install the font, but I can't comment on that because I use a Mac. But it's from memory, it's something like you have to right click on it and you say install font, because it's a while since I've used a PC in that way, but I think it was something on them lines. If you try right clicking on the file and you see an icon that says install font, I think that's where it might be. But if you can't find it, I'm sure if you just click on Google and just Google it, it'll tell you how. So once you've done that and you click your install whatever, it'll install the font to your computer. Once it's installed, and it has to be installed before your Brother Type Converter software will recognise it. So what I did then is went onto my Brother Type Converter software and I typed the word thanks in capital letters, and I went down to Big Top, which is that one. I previewed it so I could see what it was like. I was happy with that. I saved it and downloaded it, and whilst I'm here I also put the other thing. I'll just take off the caps lock, and I typed in for your thoughtful gift, and I made that in Better Together. That's another font that I got from the font, so I saved that as well, so I had both files saved down onto my computer. Excuse me, I am really still struggling with this cold. So I saved that and downloaded it to my computer. So what I did then is went back into Canvas, just do that, and on the SVG I went on choose file, located where I had it saved, and it was the Thanks FCM I wanted, and say OK, and that will bring it in onto your screen. So I'm just going to zoom in a little so you can see. I'll go up to 75%, then you can have a good look at what we're doing. So I'm just first of all going to move it down a little bit away from the edge of the mat because it's a bit close to the top up there. So all I did was that, and next thing I wanted to do is flood fill it with some colour so I can see what's happening. So I'll put it in red, and you can see the only thing we need to get rid of is this I'll just move that a little bit. I'm just going to undo that and edit. Once we've selected, we're going to do this, process the overlap and subtract, and it'll knock out that bit of the A because we can't weld them together until we've done that. So then what I did was just selected each letter and shunted it along a little bit until it was overlapping. So not too much, just overlapping like so. And I'm just going to do that with each of the letters. And I'm going to keep going just until all my letters are overlapping the thanks. The last one takes a while because we've shunted all the other ones up. And I'm just going to attach that one there, and hopefully they're now overlapping. And once I've done that, I'm going to select all of them, go on edit and process the overlap, weld. And hopefully that's welded all my letters together, and it has. So all I did then was, because I wanted it ultimately to be fitting onto a sort of DL that would be 8 by 4 inches, I made it 4 inches wide by 8 inches long. So I'm just going to make it, uncheck the aspect ratio, I'm going to make it 8 inches long and 4 inches wide, because that's how tall I wanted it to be, and it's not done the right. So I'm going to do it again, hit 4, say OK, and then I've got my thanks. Okay, now if you think it's a little bit too tall, and I did want it to be able to fit on with a matting layer as well, and I just shrunk it down a little bit, so it ultimately ended up being about 3¼ inches. So all I did then was took a duplicate and took that off to the side, so that's going to be my top layer. I then went into edit and create an offset line, and I did it by about 0.45 inches, around about 0.5-ish, and I wanted it outward, and I said OK. Okay, so no, I didn't do it that big at all, sorry, ignore that, I don't know why I said that. I want a smallish overlap, so process the overlap, so this is for the matting layer. So I'm going to make it about 0.8, and I want it in and out, so I'm going to do that. I'll just go back a step and show you that again. Select it, and then I want to go edit, create the offset line, and I'm going to set it to about 0.8. I want it to do, that was checked before, I unchecked that so that it would also do the letters, and we'll have a look at that. And as you can see now, it's actually made a file that's got all the holes cut out as well. So what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to break it apart so that when we move that out of the way, all those bits get left behind, and I'm going to delete them. So that is now effectively the matting layer. Now, if there's a little tiny bit like this, if I just zoom in, you can see it's just left that tiny little bit on the A. Now that might, I don't think it's going to cause a massive issue, but it might be a little bit problematic for the blade. So all I did was double clicked it, and then I just dragged around those nodes that I wanted to get rid of, and said minus, like so. So it's taken that one out. So we've got most of them still there. And then what I'm going to do is going to go view fit to mat again. So you can see now we've got our matting layer, and we've still got that one from top. So I'm just going to now, I'm going to make a duplicate, like so. And I'm going to edit and flip it horizontally, so that we've got the T next to T. But I also need that, I've just clicked save by accident, so sorry, I'll just do that again. I need a duplicate of that, so I'm hitting D on my keyboard, because I'm going to need that to be able to mat onto that one. So I'm going to turn that to black, like so, and this will be coming up to the top, so I'm going to bring it to the top. And so that one is going to mat onto that one, just gives it a nice sort of shadow look. Now back to these two which we've flipped, so these are now ready to weld. So I'm going to first of all line them up to the left, like so. So now they're exactly one over top of the other. I'm going to select the bottom one, and I'm using my arrow keys just to move the word up, and so it's overlapping. Not too much. I might just go maybe another couple of notches, and then we'll call that good. So what I'm going to do now is select both, and I'm going to process the overlap and weld, and that will weld them across. And again, if we zoom in, you can see that we might have a few of these little problematic areas here, here and here. These will be okay, but if you want to get rid of them, you can. And I'm going to get rid of them all, and I'll show you again. Just go on the selection tool, double click to expose the nodes, and then just drag around the ones that you don't want and up and hit minus, like so. And you might have to do it a couple of times because it might have a node on top of a node, but that's fine. Just keep going till they've all gone and drag over them. They'll turn to turquoise, and then just delete them, and that'll be absolutely fine. So just keep going. Oh, and if you do that, don't worry, just double click again to expose them, drag across. When it's turquoise, hit minus, and that gets rid of them. So I'm just going to come over to this side now, selecting them, hitting minus, and there's quite a lot just built up in there, so it would have caused a bit of stress on your blade if you'd have left that in. So I'm just keeping going, being patient with it. It's worth getting this bit right now so that you don't put strain on your blade later. So I'm just deleting these as we're going along. Just dragging around them and delete it, hitting the minus, the nodes, which is this one here. Now, what I'm going to do is just zoom in on this bit a little bit too, because what's actually happened there is there's not actually any contact, so I'm going to leave that one alone. So I'm going to view fit to map, and what I'm going to do next is I'm going to put on a score line. So I'm going to hit this line here, which is the where you draw your own sort of line. So you just drag across and it'll drag a line out for you, etc. Now I don't want that one obviously, but what you need to do when you're doing this is when you get to the edge, can you see how there's a little box comes up, like a little, it's only a little tiny bluish box. When you get that, hold your shift key down, click and drag across, and it'll drag out a straight line. And when you get to the other side, you'll see it come again, double click again, and that automatically will finish the line off and select it for you. So I'm now going to click on the properties icon, which is here. I'm going to make it a cutting line and a perforating line, like so. Now, this might not be in exactly the middle, so what I'm going to do is select everything, and I'm going to go edit, and I'm going to line everything up to the centre, and that will make sure then that score line is right in the middle of that layer. So I'm now going to select everything, and I'm going to group them so that now I can actually move that around without actually disturbing that score line. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to bring on my black layer, which is exactly what needs to be at the top. So I'm just going to bring that up to the top. Well, brought it right to the top now, so I'm going to have to send it back a layer. Now, where you fold this, obviously the top of the letters is going to be missing because we've overlapped them. This layer will fit perfectly on top and take that into account. So what you would do then is I'm going to bring this to the top. I'm going to change that back because it's a bit overpowering, to make it a nice sort of neutral colour, and I'll make this a nice goldish colour I think for this video, because I think the red's a bit too much, and I'm going to bring it right to the very top so I can sit it on top of my now matted thanks, if you will, and I can delete this one because I don't need it anymore. So what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to select everything and I'm going to group. Okay, this is where I can make sure that my file is about 8 inches wide, and I'm going to make it slightly bigger. Not so, maybe I want it to try and be about, I'm going to bring on my properties box because I want it to be about 8 by 8. Let's see what that looks like. So now that's exactly the same size as a DL card, because when you fold it in half, it'll be 4 inches and it's 8 inches long. So that's the same size as a DL card. Now, all I did next was went into my basic shapes and I selected the rounded rectangle, just with the rounded out corners. And all I did is, I'm just going to move up so you can see what I'm doing on this part of the mat, is I'll just zoom in a little bit so you can see. So all I did, I'm going to just make it about 70-ish, and then it's not too big. I dragged it out so it was about the same width, not quite as wide as the Thanks. I'm just going to try that on. I'm just going to make it a little bit shorter. So I want it to fit on, but I don't want it to be hanging over the edges. Okay, so then I can fit it anywhere on my sign. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on it and I'm going to go on Edit, Create an Offset Layer. So this is this one. Only this time I want it inward, and I do want it to be quite narrow. So I'm going to make it as narrow as it'll go. And I'm going to say OK. So now I've created a matting layer underneath, which I can turn to black, and a layer on top, which is going to where my writing's going to be, which is going to be white. Now I'm going to make the black layer a cutting line, and I'm going to make the white layer a cutting line. Cutting line. And then I'm going to go back to my SVGs and I'm going to find my greeting, which is this one. I didn't give it a name. So I'm going to say OK. So that's the greeting coming in. It's just working a little bit slow. So I'm just going to close the properties box, and as we go up, we've got for your thoughtful gift, kiss. So I'm just going to, I've got everything's grouped at the minute, so I'm just going to move it out of the way so that I can get at my words, and I'm going to edit and I'm going to group them initially just so that I can drag them down onto the mat a little bit. Then I'm going to ungroup them, and then I'm going to just zoom in a little bit so you can see. So again, if I select everything and give that a flood colour, you'll see that it fills in the letters as well, which is not what we want. So we're going to select each letter that happens to, we're going to click on it, and we're going to process the overlap and subtract. Now, you can do it more than one letter at a time, but I've found I have more success if I do it one letter at a time. For some reason, sometimes it just does not want to do it if you try to do more than one letter, and you can end up getting frustrated. And I just find that it's more accurate, you get a more better response from the program if you do it this way, and you're not pulling your hair out thinking, why is it not working? So I just go doing it like this, and it does take a few extra minutes, but once you've done it, it's sorted for as many times as you need to do it. So once you've done it once, you don't need to keep doing it, it's done. So we're getting there now, so I'm just working my way along and doing process the overlap and subtract for each of the letters. And got one more to do, edit, process the overlap and subtract. So now we've got our words. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to group them all together so that I can move them together. Okay, and then I'm going to weld, edit and weld. So it should now weld together the words that are together. Okay, if that happens, you can ungroup them and do them one word at a time. Edit and weld. Just do it like this if it's not doing it the way you want it to do. Okay, so it's one of those, and I think it's the O that's causing the issue. So I'm just going to move it and see if that helps. Okay, so I'm just going to zoom in so I can see what's happening, because of a feeling, I still feel like it's the O that's the issue. So I'm just going to try welding those two letters together just to eliminate what the problem is, and then I'm going to try welding that together and see if it's the U, and then finally we'll try doing that. So if you're having a problem welding, now that's welded. If I undo, it sends it back to the things. And I don't know why it didn't want to weld. Sometimes it's like that, and again, much like I've just said about doing it one letter at a time for your knocking out your shaded in holes in your letters, sometimes it's better sometimes you can weld the word as one word, and sometimes you have to do it a bit at a time. So we'll see. Now that it's welded, that one, no problem, so that one's fine. So I'm just going to undo that so it goes back to the end. We're going to select the gift word and we'll try welding that. And again, we're getting the error message, and it might have something to do with the I. So I'm going to just select the I and the F and try to weld those first. Weld. Then I'm going to try welding that to the G. And then we'll try to weld that to the T and weld. Right, again, we've got the error there, so it must be something to do with the T it's not liking. I'll move it along a little bit and see if that helps. We just move it just ever so slightly. Was that going to make a difference to us? Might have been that the T was overlapping, and that's welded now. And I think what it was that the T was sticking out over into the hole of the other one. So I'm just going to do the last two at the end, just if I can just select them without selecting everything. So there we are. Edit and weld, and hopefully these will weld nicely. So once we've done that, all the words are welded together now. So I'm just going to bring this onto the mat, and I'm going to select my welded words, and I'm going to group them, and then I'm going to drag them down onto my strip that I'm going to draw. I'm going to actually get the scan and cut to write this onto my, I'm going to line it up centrally and vertically, because I do intend to get my scan and cut to actually draw that greeting on for me. So I'm just going to make sure that we're ungrouping this now. So it's ungrouping. I'm going to select the thanks, and I'm just going to move it down a little. Make sure it's where I want it to be on the black layer. Not that it really matters, but I just want to get a proper look at what it's going to look like. I'm going to select, oops, I've managed to select everything, and I just want the greeting now. So I've selected the greeting and the matting layer, and then you can position that wherever you would like on your word. If you wish, you can edit and group it, make it a little bit narrower if you wish, so you can see a little bit more of your letters. That's your choice, and so on. Now, obviously, if I move that down now, I need to make sure that I've ungrouped it. So I'm just moving the position of it a little bit. And I'm going to edit and ungroup that file now, because the one that's on top, the letters, I'm struggling to get it because it's so small, the line. So I'm just going to click off. I'm going to zoom in a bit and see if that helps me to get the text, and I still can't get it. So in we go a bit further, and then we've got the letters. So if you can't get it, zoom right in so you can get right onto one of the letters and select it. And I'm going to make that a drawing line and a fill line, so that when that comes to draw it on the scan and cut, it'll give us a nice, bold, fully drawn out greeting. So I'm going to view fit to map. So like I said, that's going to fit on perfectly. So your black layer will fit on the main layer perfectly, and your matting layer will fit. So your thanks word will fit on the black layer. I mean, you don't have to do it black, you can do whatever colour you like. And all I'm going to do then is, just because I didn't move this one, this A, right across to the other one, I'm just going to, if I can, move this out the way for a second. And what I'm going to do, what I could have done to have solved this when I was doing it, is just nudge the ears a bit closer together, but I'm just a bit concerned that that might just flap about and be a pain. So I'm just going to make what I refer to as a bridge for those two letters, and I'm going to duplicate them. I'm just going to add that there, and I will need to put the score line back in after this, but I'd rather do this and know my card's not going to fall apart. And I'm going to select both of those bridges and the main card, and I'm going to weld, and that will obviously weld out my perforating line, but I'm not worried. But at least now I know that it's not going to be falling apart because I've got that bridge between the letters. So I've got that bridge there now, and I'm quite confident that that's not going to mess up. So I'm going to take this little hole out here. So I'm going to drag around those. I'm going to hit minus. So they've gone, and that's dealt with that. So what I'm going to do next is put the perforating line back in. So I'm just going to get the little box when it comes up, hold my shift key down, drag it out, double click to anchor it. Oops, I've gone a bit wrong there, so I'll undo that and do it again because I did it round the corner. Unfortunately, I didn't double click in the same place. I let go too early. So I'm just going to double click to anchor the line. I'm going to make it a cutting line and a perforating line. And then I'm going to select the base card shape and the score line and group it. And now I'm much happier that that is going to be fitting. I'm just going to group those. I'm going to move them up onto that file now. So now I'm quite confident that that base card is not going to fall apart because I've actually addressed that part where there might have been a potential problem. So I'm just going to drag that down onto my mat now so that it's ready for downloading, and I'm going to click on the greeting that's on the top, and I'm going to edit and ungroup everything so that now everything is an individual file that you can then cut separately. Okay, so as you can see, everything is separate, so you can cut them in any colourway that you wish. So all I'm going to do now is save that as thanks, and then I'm going to download it so that I can upload the file to my blog at beverleigh10.blogspot. So I got a lot of response for this. I only put it on last night just to say that I was thinking of making this for Christmas, and I got a lot of positive response wanting me to do the video. So I'm doing the video sort of having a little breather from Christmas. I will get back onto doing the Santa Claus, but I think I'm going to have to wait until my voice is a little bit better for that one because it will be a slightly longer video. Okay, so that's it for now. If you've liked it, please like, share and subscribe, and make sure you tell your friends where to find me. And that's how you can make your own personalised greeting and a welded word. Thanks for watching. Bye.